Okay, so everybody, welcome to our skills training for April. So it is all about social media and navigating social media in today's world, which is obviously something that we have to deal with all the time. So we want to make sure that we're showcasing why it's important, also the harms of it, and also how to engage with social media in a healthy way. Kate, do you want to share the slides?
Pulling them up now.
Okay, perfect.
It's just Canva is not my friend.
And then while Kate pulls up the slides, I would love if everybody, this is just like a little plug for the CoLab social media networks, but our main platforms that we use is Instagram at Global CoLab Network. So if you're not following us, that's where you can see literally everything we're doing as an organization on there. And then also, Baron, can you add in the TikTok? Because we had like multiple TikTok accounts. So we do have a more updated one, and then she'll put it in the chat. And then I do just want to give a shout out to Varen because she is our new social media intern, and this is not an easy job. Like doing social media really is like really intense. It takes a lot of like skill and patience and like continuously learning new algorithm stuff that's happening like daily. So she's done a really good job. So thank you, Varen, for helping like spearhead this. So we're gonna get started on the next slide here and just going over first the evolution of social media. Um, so just so you know, it did really start as a way to connect with friends and family online, and it was very basic in the beginning. You could only really access it on a desktop computer, and now social media has changed a lot and it keeps changing. There were early platforms like when I was growing up, we used MySpace, and I know the teens like have no idea what that really is or was. And now it's led to Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. And really, our smartphones have made social media what it is today, where it can be accessed anywhere, at any time. And so, with that, we really have to be mindful of the effects of it. And so today, the short form video and algorithm is really what drives our feeds, and it's what allows you to really see what you see in your content. And so we'll talk about that a bit more today. And then the next slide here is talking a bit about what is social media marketing, because there's a difference between just using social media for your personal use, and occasional, but then there's social media marketing that is really meant to share messages and build a brand and also like connecting your brand or your organization with others so that they're aware of it. So the main goal is to gain attention, recognition, share a story, or just encourage people to take action. Like our social media campaign on Change Our Climate is all centered on encouraging people to take action on climate change. So Lucy will go over that in a little while. So the recap is it's not just for fun. Social media marketing is actually when you're posting with a purpose. And so that's a lot of what we do on our social media channels at the collab. Next slide. There we go. And so, why is it important? So, it really helps us reach people where they are. So, like, we can connect with anybody all over the world, just like we do in the hubs. We can also do that, through our social channels. We're building trust and awareness by being consistent. So, that's a really big thing when it comes to social media is are you being consistent if you're actually using it to build a brand? If it's personal, yeah, it doesn't really matter. But if you're using it to grow an organization or a brand, consistency matters. And it helps you not only share your ideas, but also your skills. So some people like that's the way that they live, right? Because they're showing their skills. And then one thing we always just want to make sure that you're aware of too is it is useful for school, jobs, and future careers because nowadays with everything online, like your future employers might be looking at your social media. So like just making sure you know the importance of that and that you're protecting your image and things like that. And then next we'll talk about how the algorithm changed. So I'm going to pass it over to Varen.
Okay, so hi everyone. And first of all, I thank you for the very kind words, Star. But today I will tell you guys about some of the tips that I've used over the past month. But before those tips, I will talk about how the algorithm changed over the years because actually it changed a lot over like the past 2 years, and there might be some common misconceptions about that. So the first misconception is that there's only one algorithm that controls the app. And I don't know if you have noticed, but there are different tabs on Instagram and there are multiple systems and algorithms for each tab. So the Reels tab and the Feed tab, they all work really differently. But actually, the overall important thing is to get engagement. So to get more likes, more comments, or more shares. And another misconception might be that Instagram shows content related to who you follow. I mean, while this is true mostly, you can also, like, Instagram can also show you content you engage with more or like spend more time on. So even if you don't follow an account, a lot of reels or videos from that account might appear on your feed tab. So that's why it's really important to have clear topics, niches, or signals so that the algorithm can distribute your video like the best and you can reach the target audience that you want to reach. And the last misconception is that it's better to have shorter reels because of shorter attention spans. And this is really normal to think this way, but I would recommend to not limit your content to have shorter videos. Like the best interval, I would say, is to have 30 to 90 seconds. So while having like catchy introductions, you can really grab the audience's attention and also not bore them. So next slide, please. So there are a lot of tips that I really recommend, but the number one tip that I recommend is to try to use like trending audio tracks or trying to implement trends popular for your intended audience. And like we're all teens, we know how important trends are and how um, they can reach like younger audiences. And like if you can notice, big companies use trends to create like make them more relevant to younger audiences. And this way they get a lot of engagement and a lot of outreach. So I really recommend that. And I will also show some examples after those tips. But another tip that really complements the trending audio track one is to keep in mind to have either a title or a strong visual hook so that your audience can know what the content is about at the first look. So even if you use a trend, the audience might not know if you're talking about equality or like if you're talking about composting. So having a visual image or like a title really helps you and the audience know what the content is about. And also, if you're doing campaigns from using the stories format, I really recommend using interactive stickers, polls, or questions. This way, you both get more engagement, so maybe more likes or like more views on your stories, but also you can get to know your target audience by asking questions, like doing polls, and you can also change your future content related to those answers. And after your video is posted, please share it with your friends or family. This really boosts engagement. And also, we've seen a lot of instances where reposting on your personal story helps us get more accounts and helps us get more followers because your friends see it, maybe your friends' friends see it, and you get to promote your projects better. So next slide, please. quickly pause these videos. But so on the left, you can see that I've used a trending audio and a caption. So maybe you remember it, but it's the flow state trend. And because I used it at like the perfect time when it was really popular, Instagram just boosted it and put it to a lot of put it to a lot of people's feed, and it got over 225K views, which is great. So in the middle, you can see that I've used a title. So that's the second tip that I gave to you guys. And here you can see at the first look that it's about sustainable living. And because I also use a trending audio, which is the La La Land soundtrack you hear right now, we got over 70 likes. And the one on the right, you can see an example for how you can use interactive polls. And for this one, we got over 150 responses, which is also great for stories. So before I pass it on to Lucy, I really want to emphasize you guys to use these tips so you can promote your projects better. And I really love your content ideas. So just try to implement these tips and it will be a lot better. Thank you.
Thank you, Baron. That was amazing. Social media is quite it's always changing, which is interesting. So, um, you probably heard before, but Change Our Climate is a campaign on social media to get people to live more sustainably. So we have a website and we're asking everybody to take a pledge to change one or more daily habits to reduce their carbon footprint. So if you haven't done that already, I think Star, you can go to the next slide, or Kate, you can go to the next slide. Um, go to changeourclimate.org and then you can just fill out a pledge. It takes like 10 seconds, and you can say what you're going to do to reduce your carbon footprint. Um, and also on our website, we have a number of partners that we're trying to work with. We have a resources page that we're building up. So, um, suggestions for people like how to actually implement this in their lives, tips and tricks. We have some guides made by the Climate Hub that we're promoting on there. So if you get the chance to go and look at our resources page, and there's anything you want to add, let me know, because that's always an expanding list. Um, but on our social media page on Instagram, that's where we're really trying to promote this campaign. So if you follow the collab, which you should, you've probably seen videos of members of the Climate Hub saying that, hi, I'm a part of a collaborative trying to change the climate before it changes us, and giving tips like using reusable water bottles or composting or thrifting or there's a lot of different tips and tricks on our page that you can scroll through. And what we're hoping is that we can expand this campaign um, to all of the hubs, and you guys can create reels using the tips that Baron just offered that will contribute to this campaign and then also raise awareness about your hub subject. So, okay, if you go to the next slide, I think it's just a QR code to take the pledge. So if you haven't already done that, go ahead and scan. But it's also changeourclimate.org, super simple. So, um, what we're going to do in a little bit is go into breakout rooms and talk with your hubs about how you can incorporate Change Our Climate into your hub subject. But for now, I'm going to hand it over to Umar to talk about how exactly to make a Change Our Climate reel.
Alright, hey guys. So to make a change your climate real, you have to like start off with so there are four simple steps, right? So you have to start off with a hook to like catch someone's attention, right? Like most social media posts. But like whether it's like saying stop scrolling or did you know or whatever, it catches someone's attention and they'll stop scrolling, right? Then you have to an intro. So you would say like you're part of a global campaign, right? So it kind of starts to get people's attention by saying your name and saying what you're a part of and all that stuff. Next, your message. So like your message. So what you're trying to convey, whether it's in like a story or personal narrative or something or what you're trying to say. Uh, that's like your third part, and then your last part is your call to action by saying to take a pledge to change your climate. That way, at the end of the video, they'll understand and then they'll take the pledge and all that stuff. Also, in your caption, use hashtag change your climate and also tag the global collab.
Thank you so much. This is a fantastic tool. I'm going to put it in the chat. It's the Reels cheat sheet. And you can go ahead and look at this as we go into the breakout rooms. But Kate, if you go to the next slide. Oh, perfect. So when we go into the breakout rooms, we want you to meet with your hub and talk about, first of all, how does climate change intersect with your hub? So, I mean, some are going to be really obvious, like plastic pollution and overconsumption. That I think is what a lot of people think about when they think of climate change. But climate change affects us all in everyday life. So, arts, for example, like what kind of materials people are using, how art can be used to represent climate change. There's a lot of different intersections. Um, and then along with that, think about what kind of challenges might people face that relate to your hub and relate to the climate in their everyday lives. So this kind of leads into the next question of what topics are people actually going to be interested in? Like if they just see a statistic on climate change and carbon emissions, they might not be that interested. But if it's something that affects them, like, for example, costs of groceries, that's something that will hook people's attention. And then you can also think about if you've seen any relevant trends on social media. We mainly use Instagram and TikTok. So if you're on those platforms, have you seen any videos that are being repeated over and over that you could incorporate into a reel? And then you can go ahead and get started on a script idea. I put a script template in the chat, so you can go ahead and click on that link. Um, and this is just to kind of help you think through what the video would actually look like. You don't have to fill out the script completely, but it's nice to visualize like what the first section will say in the second. And then also using the Reels cheat sheet. So you need to have your hook, and then an introduction saying what you actually are doing, where you're coming from, and then, of course, the main message, and then the call to action at the end to take the pledge. So, stars, were you able to put people into breakout rooms?
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep the hub members together who have multiple people here. I know arts does, mental health does. The rest of you I'm gonna kind of combine. But can everybody just write, if you haven't already, what hub you're in, and then I'll start assigning the breakout room. So in the chat, if you haven't done that already, um, and then I'll get you over to your room. And then for those of you that I'm combining in a group, I'm thinking climate, I might put y'all and mix you up since you already have this down, and that way you can help the other groups come up with ideas and brainstorm for their hubs. So if you have multiple hubs in your room, just take a few minutes like for each hub. And we'll have you in breakout rooms for about 7 or 8 minutes, and then we'll come back together, okay?
Sorry, do you want to debrief for a couple minutes before I?
Yeah, so for the debrief, we just wanted to ask, like, let's just talk about quickly, how does climate change affect your hub? If a few people just want to share, that would be great. Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
Kate. Yeah, Caitlin and Darwin, you guys can go ahead.
Thanks. So I'm a part of the Equality Hub, and I think that climate change is very linked to both equality and equity. I know that, I think that the vast majority of the agricultural sector, there are many women working in there, and yet they don't own or receive most of that land. So it really matters for them, the land that they do have, how they're able to curate that, and it also matters because land degradation usually affects women the most negatively, where they suffer the brunt of the economic impacts. And then it also matters because obviously it's going to exacerbate existing inequalities when climate change starts to ruin economies, starts to ruin food sources. It's going to make worse the economic differences in that community.
That's great, Caitlin. Darwin, did you want to share yours? Oh, I think we might have lost him. Did anybody else want to share about how it affects their hub? Or I know a lot of you were in mixed groups, so maybe you want to share what topics might interest people online, because I heard a lot of you talking about different topic ideas.
I was in the mental health hub group, and we were talking about how climate change, well, people there, we did a bit of research a bit ago, talking about how green spaces affected mental health, and we saw a strong correlation um, between like more spaces and better mental health. So we were talking about how, like with um, the coming of climate change, um, it can definitely affect people's mental health with less green spaces, more dreary days. Yeah.
Yeah, green spaces are really important. Did anyone have any relevant trends that they talked about? That would be kind of cool to hear. No one's up on the latest trends.
Lemo had a good trend.
Yes, so we were talking about our trends, and I thought of the expectation versus reality,
Mm,
especially regarding climate change in education, because the challenge that is faced is maybe perhaps due to hotter conditions, hot weather conditions, it makes it hard for the learners to focus. So I thought of a video where it would be like what a normal or what an expected normal day at school would be like, and then versus the actual reality. So
mm. Yeah, that's really great. You'll have to definitely put that idea into practice. That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you all for participating in that. So we're going to pass it over for the last portion of our all hands. We're going to pass it over to Amin and the mental health group.
All right. Sounds good. Okay. Have you guys ever felt stressed about social media or feel as if it's controlling your life? We plan to dive into how social media affects teens, the mental health of teens all around the world. And then we also plan to host a webinar sometime mid-May to share more on our research on the intersection between social media and mental health. Okay. So we've been looking at lots of different research on this topic and wanted to share like the highlights on science, cyberbullying, and usage. In terms of science, we've been looking at dopamine overload, unstable hypothalamus, heightened stress, and long-term effects. As it relates to dopamine overload, social media affects the efficiency of the prefrontal cortex, which is in charge of your decision making. This increases stress and causes 31% of frequent users to have some sort of self-control problems. As it relates to unstable hypothalamus, social media causes fear of missing out or FOMO, and it's excessive social comparison to peers and friends. In terms of heightened stress, when used incorrectly, social media can weaken self-control and increase anxiety. And in terms of long-term effects, social media can change the brain's natural balance of emotions by overstimulating key neurological pathways. Um, Another effect is it could, shorten attention spans, um, which obviously is not great. And I will pass it on to Atli for our next slide on cyberbullying.
Okay, cyberbullying. So as social media continues to spread and the uses of social media grows, things like cyberbullying can happen. Cyberbullying is best defined as bullying through digital media, including text, social platforms, and gaming. It often involves repeatedly spending or sharing negative contents to upset or embarrass someone. 21.6% of students aged 12 to 16 report online bullying. Girls report cyberbullying at twice the rate of boys, and national data highlights that cyberbullying is both common and persistent, cutting across multiple digital spaces. National surveys show that cyberbullying continues to affect high school students across the US. In 2023, 16% of high schoolers experienced cyberbullying within the past year. Next slide, please. Okay, the usage of social media. Several studies show that the average time teens spend on social media is 4 to 5 hours per day. The primary reason for using social media has shifted from connecting with friends to filling in for spare time. According to the American Psychological Association, 41% of teens with the highest social media use rate that their mental health is poor or very poor, compared to those who don't use social media as much, which is like 21%. The graph in the bottom shows the daily use of social media across platforms worldwide from the year 2012 to 2025. Now I'm gonna pass it on to our mentor, Bonnie.
Oh, perfect. So we've talked a lot today about how mental health is good. So how can we use mental health, knowing what we now know about the potential negative effects? And so one, taking a mindful scroll. So what does that mean? It means going through your feed and noticing what is making you feel what way. Is there something that's making you smile? Is there something that feels like rage bait? And when does it sort of turn from scrolling to doom scrolling? And then noticing the patterns. So it's not all bad. And I think when you can, some social media actually really helps us connect with others, helps us reach out and find new things, such as all the wonderful things that are being done on the collab. So, being able to notice when it feels good and when it feels harmful. And then learn how to beat the algorithm. So once you've noticed what is making you feel good, try and like and engage with only that kind of content and then unfollow things that don't support you or your goals. So you're curating your own feed and you're putting yourself in control. And then finally, taking a time limit. So we all know scrolling can be addictive, but if you need to have an external limit, do that. Set the time limits so that you're not being beaten by your algorithm. Okay, next slide. So how can we make some healthy replacements for doom scrolling? So I think if make plans, do things outside of technology that help you feel connected with the world and with those around you. You can, lower your stress levels by doing those things. They can help minimize depression, anxiety, and even there's studies that show that a decrease in high blood pressure. And also exploring the outdoors. So, how can being outside just help feel that clean air in your lungs, but also boost your happiness, increase your energy, and also lower your heart rate? And then go learn something new. Find something, I don't know, that instrument you've always been wanting to play. So taking moments to be mindful if you find yourself in a doom scrolling loop, just take a moment, pause, think, is there something else I could be doing, something new, something engaging with the world around me when you do feel those negative side effects of social media. And I think now we're going to go into some of the, we did it, thanks, Star. So we did an interview with some other hubsters and peers, and so we want to ask you guys these same questions. So I'll pass it back to Atlai and Aman.
Okay, so here we have a few questions that you guys can answer in the chat. So question number 1, how much time are you spending on social media per day? And so as you guys answer in the chat, I'm gonna read the answers from the interview we did. So on average, our responders spend.
Or wait, let's see what they say first so they
Okay.
don't copy the answer.
Okay. Okay, so somebody said that they spend 1 to 2 hours. Let's see. 1 hour. Okay. Around 10 minutes a day. That's really good.
Wow, Caitlin, that's really great.
Yeah. 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. 1 to 2 hours. Okay. Maybe 3 hours. Okay. Plus 10 minutes. Okay. Let's see. Let's wait. Okay. 1 to 2 hours. Okay. So if there's any more, I'm gonna read the survey. Okay, so on average, our responders spend 3.54 hours per day. And according to teachers and teens, on average, we spend 3.8 hours on social media per day. That equals out to around 16% of the day. So when it comes to how much time we spend on social media, it's really important to be aware of how much it's taking off of day, how much time we're spending on social media, how it's affecting us. So like in the previous slide, setting time limits, it can be really useful. So next question is, what are your opinions on social media? Any answers? Let's see. Okay, somebody responded that it can be a useful tool, but it can be quite dangerous. Yes. I think it's pretty harmful mentally, and it's not a good way to take a break. Yeah. It can get very consuming, yes, definitely. Any more? Okay, we have one more. It can make you very criticizing, yeah. Let's see. Okay, now I'm gonna read the answer from our survey. So 79% of our responders said that they had positive opinions about social media because of their ability to connect with friends and the daily news they will get on their feed. And the other 19% argued that it was too addictive and harmful to their productivity. So yeah, despite social media definitely having positive things, it can also be quite dangerous to our productivity, to our mental health, to how we view ourselves. So being aware of that is also very important. I'm gonna pass it on to Amar.
Yeah, so for a third question in the interview, how do you feel social media has affected your mental health? And you guys can just type in the chat. Self-control gets worse the more you use it. Affects it negatively because it's a bad way to take a break, but it's fun to talk with your friends. Yes. And bad for discipline. Yeah. So when we surveyed our teens, nearly half of them were really just unsure, showing significant like uncertainty and mixed experiences around its impact, and its effect on their mental health. Um, Specifically, 46% of people uh, said, they had mixed feelings. 27% said it affected their mental health to a great deal, and 27% said it did not affect their mental health from what they've seen. And our last question for you guys was, how do you engage with social media in a healthy way? Which you can also type in the chat for. Yeah, setting limits. Yeah, learning stuff, learning new things, setting limits, engaging with friends. Yeah. Um, yeah, making you laugh. Yeah, perfect. Um, yeah, that's great. So we didn't actually ask our surveys. This was a question for you guys, but um, yeah, I definitely agree with setting limits. I actually have an app that like blocks me from using it unless I do like push-ups. So I have like it's kind of like a double positive where win-win where I like, get some exercise in and lower my social media usage.
Thank you, everybody. That was a great mental health group. Give them a round of applause. Thank you for all those nuggets that you shared with us. And then yeah, thanks for hanging on. You guys, I know we're a few minutes past. We just want to get our group photo so we can send it to Linda. She wasn't able to join us today. I'm just gonna stop the recording.